Alright, so everyone loves a good cheese strat, right? A cheeky play that shouldn't work, but when it does, it's absolutely 5-head. Now you might expect to see these normally in your average solo queue games, but not in Game 5 of an LCS Finals with $100,000 and a trip to MSI on the line. That would be insane if someone did it then, right? Well, Cloud9 did it. The Mad Lads actually did it, and it actually worked. Here's how.
I cannot overstate how cool this is. This is Game 5 of the finals. This is not your solo queue game testing out a new strategy. This is the most 500 IQ level 1 I have ever seen.
Alright, just before we get into this, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to theScore Esports if you haven't done so already. That way, you'll never miss a video like this or any of our other great content in the future. Alright, so last Sunday, Cloud9 played Team Liquid in the LCS 2021 Mid-Season Showdown. It was the culmination of weeks of playoffs. The winner would get the chance to represent North America at the Mid-Season Invitational, one of just 2 major international league events all year long. The only thing bigger than MSI is Worlds. Cloud9 were contending for their first major title win since signing Burke in November of last year from G2 for a reported $2.7 million. And Burke has been very clear that he did not go to North America to f*** around. He came to take it all.
I came here to win and to dominate, and I want to perform well when it matters and make my fans proud. So I didn't come here to lose any and to not go to MSI.
So, although Burke has always had his mind on MSI, Cloud9 had to take down Team Liquid first. It was never going to be easy, and the close series reflected that. Here's how it happened. Team Liquid took Game 1, Cloud9 fired back in Game 2. Team Liquid brought things to match point despite having a backup jungler for the whole series, and then C9 leveled things up at 2-2 to send us to a deciding Game 5. Okay, so it's Game 5. The stakes could not be higher. It seems like a good time to go with your tried and tested strats, right? Perhaps it's not the time for crazy experimentation or just deviation from what got you to this point. Well, Cloud9 didn't think so. Now, when league players talk about a level 1 strat, they're talking about what a team decides to do at the very start of the game, often before the minions have even spawned. This could be invading the enemy jungle, stacking on a bush to hopefully find a kill, or swapping your champions out of their normal lanes to give your team an advantage. Well, it didn't take long for the casters in this Game 5 to realize that Cloud9 was doing something different.
Cloud9 have not been going for level 1s at all, and they are 3 men top. They are walking this in. Is this a lane swap?
Good lord, man.
I think we're lane swapping against the Cho'Gath. That is a bad matchup for Sion, but I cannot say I expected this.
Now, the invade to take Team Liquid's blue buff wasn't super crazy. It does happen fairly often. The other jungler will usually adapt to this and take their enemy's respective buff in what's known as vertical jungling. The difference here was that Team Liquid didn't know that Cloud9 had also lane swapped. They'd sent their bot lane to top lane, and Alphari got a pretty nasty surprise.
Is this 5 games in a row? Ignite's been dropped. Vulcan's on the chase. Vulcan with a flash. Vulcan with a pulverize. Alphari knows that even if he flashes, it does not matter.
But this was only one half of Cloud9's cunning plan. To understand the other half, we need to talk about the champion that Cloud9 had put their top laner Fudge onto, Sion. When Sion dies, he's resurrected for a few seconds in zombie form. His attacks hit hard, but his health bar rapidly deteriorates to nothing before he actually dies. Like, properly. And he can actively stay in this form for a bit longer if he's continuously punching enemies. Don't worry about the logic behind that, it just works, I guess. So, while the top dive was happening, Fudge was taking Cloud9's blue buff by himself. When he died, he came back stronger, he hit blue buff harder, and he stayed in his zombie form long enough to kill the blue buff and Gromp. So this gave him a quick level 2, but it also f***ed Team Liquid's jungler Armeo because now he couldn't vertical jungle. Sion had already taken what he wanted.
They're going into a split map situation, but they took 3 quadrants. This is the most 500 IQ level 1 I have ever seen.
Armeo, desperate for gold and XP, was forced into Cloud9's jungle right where they wanted him, and Perks was already licking his lips.
Blabber with the flash, trying to
flash
lock
the wall.
Armeo down. Perks comes over the wall. He goes for the E. He goes for the damage. He goes all the way.
This shit just does not happen at this level of league in a final game of a series. Even veteran ex-pros like Meteos were shocked.
This is actually a really fucking hype Game 5. I can't believe this shit is like
Yeah.
a literal Game 5 final strat.
When teams go off-road at the highest level of play, it can make history. When Rox Tigers picked Misfortune Support at Worlds 2016, SKT thought they must have misclicked. But the pick was intentional and completely countered SKT's bot lane and helped Rox to win the game. They pulled that off at Worlds 2016 semi-finals. Now, yes, that wasn't a level 1 strat, but the point is, these deviations don't tend to happen in League's biggest games. And that's why Cloud9's strat here just took everyone by surprise. Although Team Liquid tried to stabilize things, Cloud9 held on to their early advantage from the level 1 strat throughout the game, eventually closing it out to become LCS Spring Champions.
They stayed in the upper bracket, and Cloud9 are your first ever mid-season showdown champions.
And what a Game 5 performance. Absolutely incredible.
They had the confidence, the knowledge, and the composure to pull off a play that left Team Liquid staggering for most of that final game. They had the option to play it a bit more safe, but hey, maybe playing safe doesn't win you trophies. That victory means that Cloud9 will represent North America at MSI, where they'll face off against the best the world has to offer. But okay, let's return to that strat once more. Where did it actually come from? Like, whose idea was it? Well, Coach Mithy said they'd had the strat prep for quite a while and had perfected it by watching a Rogue game from last year where they used it to give G2 a real headache.
We used the Rogues game from like last year, I think it was last year.
It was against me.
Yeah, against Luca. So yeah, that was also convincing because it was a pretty rough game for G2. So yeah, I think we did a few tries. We used our academy team to help us out, and yeah, we were convinced that it was good. So we just decided to show it when it really mattered, basically.
So, Cloud9 will be flying off to Iceland for their first international tournament with this roster. MSI was cancelled in 2020, and so the reigning champion from 2019 is technically still G2, and they didn't qualify this year. In fact, the only G2 member of that winning team that will be returning to defend his belt is Perks. So can Cloud9 make North America proud on the international stage when NA has usually fallen short? We'll have to wait and see. They've been put into the same group as Damwon Gaming, the current world champions, so it's not going to be easy. Others at the tournament include Europe's new kings Mad Lions and either Fun Plus Phoenix or Royal Never Give Up, depending on who wins the Chinese finals this weekend. None of those teams are going to roll over for Cloud9, and they also have to respect the other regions too. Turkish, Brazilian, Latin American teams have really started to give North America a run for their money recently, arguably even closing the gap on them. Are they going to pull out some more level 1 strats against this competition? Well, let's think for a second. The stakes will be very high. The competition will be very tough. The whole world will be watching. So, honestly, maybe, yeah. From what we learned about Cloud9 recently, it might be the perfect place to do it. In fact, the only member of that winning Team 2 who's able Team 2. Hello, Gene.
What the? What?
Team 2.